Hello. Welcome to Tarot for Our Times. This is Sarah, your medium on the go. I took a little break over the weekend just to relax and recharge my battery and do some readings too. So, it's been a big roller coaster with that awful bill that got signed into law. It's kind of like when somebody's terminally ill and you know that they're living on borrowed time and you're still shocked and in grief when they finally do pass away. Well, this is pretty much how we felt about this. So my colleagues and I knew that this was going to be signed into law, but still when it happened, it just felt awful. So I'm not going to talk about that today. I will be dealing with that in various bits and pieces over time. But I want to get a little bit on the sleazoid side, which is always appropriate when talking about this regime. So, of course, it's about the mystery of the Epstein list. Now you see it, and now you don't. So, Blondie said, "It's on my desk" back in February. And then she said, I guess yesterday, like, "Ooh, there is no list." And so that's the big thing. It reminds me of the play Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf when the athletic teacher says that Honey was pregnant. She had a poof, and then poof, she didn't have the puff anymore. This whole thing is like theater of the absurd. Anyway, so of course, if you've seen the thumbnail, the main card here, our focus card is the Knight of Cups in reverse. So I have him as Taco and pedo Epstein. And the thing about the Knight of Cups upright is sort of like the romantic cavalier that you read about in all those sappy, King Arthur's, with the chivalry, and it's like kind of overly sickeningly romantic kind of stuff, which is nice in fairy tales. But when he's in reverse, he's a predator. Oftentimes he's a deviant. And that would go to the whole Epstein thing. And he's got a terrible, terrible message to bring. So, a number of things have come up, like did Epstein unalive himself, or did someone unalive him? Now, the footage in the prison shows nobody coming in to do that yet. I watched Midas Touch and some other things, and apparently there's a minute of footage missing. I've been going back and forth of this, but I think a logical explanation could be, a very likely one could be, is that he did, in fact, commit suicide, but nobody really cared to stop him. Maybe the guy decided to go out for a smoke break, and that's where the minute is missing. So I would say that it's highly likely that he did and no one stopped. It could have been stopped and no one did. So that's kind of like the next thing for him. Someone else coming in and doing the deed. Now, there is the mystery with Lady Pimp, Ghislaine Maxwell, that could she be singing to the feds? Now, if that is true, they probably have her protected like Fort Knox. I would say that in that position, you'd have to be crazy not to make a big condition aside from getting a lighter sentence, but a big condition would have to be super, super protection before considering it. I've thought that she could be the keeper of the list. And she really knows, I think she knows a lot. But okay, so this will get, so what I want to do the reading on is, what does this whole thing mean about there is no list and about Taco's part in this whole thing? And I'm sorry, but those photos they go back to the early 2000s and the 90s, and with him dancing around with Epstein and those barely out of puberty girls, and the way they looked at them and everything, and the history. And there's the story of the 13-year-old girl who was threatened and allegedly threatened and paid to, her family was threatened allegedly for entertainment purposes only, but I will say that she does sound credible. So this is I think this is important because there's certain conspiracy theorists that are still going into that Clinton pizza parlor stuff and all these fairy tales about it's the Dems. I mean, I'm sure that, having that disorder, shall we say, is something that transcends the parties. But I would say that all those cozy pictures of him, Epstein, Maxwell down in Palm Beach, pretty much it tells a story. It really has to make you wonder, list or no list. So we're going to the longer reading will be what does this mean? We're going forward with this. I think that this story is not going to die, and that's pretty much what I want to look at. Then for a shorty, I will do a brief one about the likelihood as to whether Epstein committed suicide or someone came and unalived him. And then I want to do another short one on, is she singing? And so with that, I've been shuffling these, but I will give these another shuffle. So I do want to look at this because this is one of those, the thing about that, what my intuition is telling me, and maybe some knowledge of history is telling me, is that, those documents that were down in Mar-a-Lago that could have been looked at by God and only knows who, they're hardly secured, and that there's state secrets and people's lives at stake and all of this, which is very important. But that's obviously at this point not going to bring him down, maybe later on when some dominoes fall. But with somebody like that, it's always something, and I'm not going to call it stupid, but I'm going to say, instead of national security, it becomes more like tabloid. Let's say the tabloid stuff, because I take it seriously, but I know, there is the school of thought like, oh, look at all the horrible stuff he's done on the world stage. Yeah, true, but that may not be what's going to bring him down. What's going to bring him down is the sleazy stuff. That's where he lives. So I have been shuffling them before I started, but I'll just give him one last thing. And so, gotta put this down. All right. Okay, all my card bags all over the place. Okay, so, alrighty, so where we are at now, because this has been talked about on a, I know that the floods are serious, but the sad thing is that stuff, I think that's going to hurt him a lot, but I think it's because of who he is. This may take on a certain life of its own. So let's see, because I'll be doing readings on those other things at another time. Okay, so here he is. Emperor in reverse. Mean, nasty guy, but he does it out of weakness. The Emperor has no clothes. Well, actually, that seems to be fitting in with the question of this. Okay. And so it's crossed with the energy of the Fool. So, this is what he's all about, is that he's taken a lot of risks, but he's gotten away with them. They've been foolish, but he's gotten away with them. So it's only a matter of how much longer can this go on. Is this yet another thing he'll get away with? But I will say that he's pretty much been using the same playbook, and it may be just a matter of time to see how well it works. Now, what this tells me is that for the time being, he'll probably skate, but I think as people come out of the woodwork and there's other things revealed about this, and if Anonymous, which we didn't hear from, if Anonymous really wants to show their chops, why don't you see if you can hack into some of this stuff? Then you'll get your credibility back. Okay, so in the before tarot leading up to this, and I didn't, this is a random pick. This is the Emperor. So, and the Emperor is just getting ready to get in reverse too. You can't make this stuff up. So he's getting ready to sit in his Emperor's chair thinking, well, once again I get away with stuff leading up to it. This is telling me that the downfall of people comes when they get a little bit too cocky. They're playing out of the same book, and they may be about to find out that this guy's going to flip into reverse. So let's see, as a result of this, we have the wheel. The after is the Wheel of Fortune in reverse, with the devil, our good old friend, the devil, on top. So that means that that's kind of answering this may not work this time, and that his devil nature and all this. See, there's a lot of blackmail and stuff, and with this list, a lot of blackmail energy, which is part of the devil energy, which is saying that, but with the Wheel of Fortune on top, that could be revealed. And it may be one of those things that could start to bring his downfall. So let's, oops, got to get the other cards here. Shuffle those some more. So let's see what's going on underneath of this and what could be happening. So then we have in the past, not the winning proposition that he thought this was. This is like, just because somebody said, when the liars say that the list has disappeared, what, you're going to believe them? And I was also thinking that, even those, they may have thrown that into the fireplace. Somebody put it on a disc, or they put it, once those key fingers go over the keyboards, it's the internet is forever. So all the old stuff may not be a winning thing. That was Then we have the Queen of Cups in reverse. And so it's like, if all else fails, play the victim. Play the passive-aggressive Queen of Cups in reverse. It's been this whole victimization thing, that's very negative female energy. Like, it's just this aggression and bullying is a very unattractive male characteristic. So then we have the Sun, which in reverse, which has come up. They're going to do their best. This is an attempt to keep this all under wraps and not be open about it. And I do have to agree with whoever I saw it on Facebook or wherever, that when someone is innocent of such a horrific, being in such a horrific group and doing horrific things, they're going to do their best to reveal everything and put it out in the sun to prove that it isn't so. So all of this is what's making people suspect and showing him as the weak king's new clothes president. So, as I've been saying, that his power is waning. So in opposition of this, we have the Two of Cups, which is about, okay, I'm going to say, what is this? I'm going to say this is about the muskrat making new alliances. And, people would say, what does he know? And just as I was saying that, once someone hits a keyboard, someone can dig it up. So basically what this is that he does have some tech people behind him, and that he is making new alliances. That rift, as they may go back and forth, but that rift, and I think that he knows there's weakness here. And maybe his whole thing, maybe that bill, that big atrocious bill that got signed into law, maybe that's when the muskrat felt that this guy's getting weaker, the dementia is going like nuts, so it's time for, and I'm hated now, so it's time for me because I'm with him. I'm sure he's saying, I'm hated because I was allied with him. So it's not like he's going to become this compassionate liberal. He's just making new alliances where it's convenient. So this is what's going to be putting, this is a contributing factor. So what is going to mess this whole thing up? So in the conscious thoughts behind the people saying there is no list, we have justice in reverse, because what this is saying is that if he is trying to hide that he was on that list, then there's a lot of video and photographic images saying it's quite possible that this is a way he avoids justice. It's like he doesn't have enough legal problems, so this is a big deal. And that attorney general of his, she's going to really live to regret this. As I said in my couple months ago in my comparing her to John Mitchell, who ending up in prison because of his loyalty to Nixon. So in the subconscious, we have the high priestess, and that is the very busy work of keeping all those deep, dark secrets. And there's nothing like deep, dark secrets when you're implicated with a pedophile. So, I feel like maybe I'm going to need to take a shower after this reading. But I won't be getting explicit, but you get the idea. Okay, so in the past, with the before tarot, with all of this stuff, we have so in this before tarot upright, he's toiling the soil and, planting. He's gotten his stuff planted before he realizes that it's all rotten stuff that he planted. But with this being in reverse, I will say that he knows it's rotten and he's going to plant it anyway. So that tells me that in the not too distant past, Yeah, well, when we get desperate and want to throw out another line, yeah, let's just say the list never existed. I don't know if anybody believes it unless except for the major Kool-Aid ingesters. Okay, so presently, right after this, okay, we have the Page of Swords. I would say, I'm wondering if there's some energy behind a whistleblower, that trying to quiet a whistleblower. And I've always said that I guess apparently the Doge boys are still slithering around somewhere, and I always thought there might be an enemy in that camp. But what I'm saying is that there could be a younger person in this mix who may know some stuff, and that may be something that gets revealed. So this lie could be to cover up or to discredit someone that may. I think I've always thought that somehow that list, bits and pieces of that list, are going to get leaked. Maybe not anymore to the New York Times. It may be something like Midas Touch or Occupy Democrats, which is garnering zillions of votes as we speak. They've gotten very, very popular at the expense of the cable news, which really screwed the pooch on a lot of things. Okay, so at any rate, so coming up into the very near future, well, what this tells me is that they knew that what Blondie had said about all that, the Epstein report being on her desk. So I would say that they probably for a while, and this is, I'm going to say, this was back in February, so I've got to say for some time, they have been trying to make up their mind about, are we going to just lie about this, or what are we're going to burn it? What are we going to do? So they knew they had an answer, but the blindfold is still on. And they knew that it probably wasn't going to be the best answer, but it was sort of like the only one they had. So they blindly went ahead and did that. And since it's coming up in the future, they will continue to do it. So with the After Tarot coming up further down the line, we have the Hanged Man. So they are sticking to their story, and they're going to hang around with that story. But now we have someone to help feed that story, so they can be fed and kept into place. So I would say this lady represents the legacy corporate news, which will say, oh, I guess they are destroyed, except for the Lawrence O'Donnells and the Rachel Maddows, who pretty much call bullshit on that. So, but they know they've got their enablers with that. Okay, then, although you're going to kind of wonder how long that, oh boy, so further down the road, we have the Three of Hearts. After those hearts, those swords have been in the heart, which is all about treason and treachery, and those swords can no longer stay there. This is wounded. This goes back to the Watergate, like when John Dean said there was a cancer upon the presidency, and others were saying, it's wounded and it can't be healed. So this is what this is saying, is that the treachery and the damage has been done. You can take away, maybe they're hoping the story will die, but it isn't. The damage has been done. So this is one of many things that are going to I mean, this may go, we've got floods and this and that, but this story will keep rearing its ugly head, especially on the YouTube channels. So let us see. So in the hopes and the fears, we have hoping they can still be pulling, and this kind of goes back to the beginning, hoping they can still pull these magical tricks. But since this is in reverse, they've been doing the same old for so long, and not exactly for the highest and the best, but for, taco time. And so what this is saying is that it's not going to work, and people are already seeing through this. So, and the fear is that this stuff will no longer, the magic's gone. That's what they were hoping, that it works, but the fear is that they know the magic is really gone with this being in reverse. So, I do a quick what they think of themselves with this. Judgment. They know they're being judged, but they figure if they stick together. I think a lot of this is illusion and fairy tales. So this is how they see themselves, like, well, we're doing this for the better purpose, and the angel's with us, the angel Gabriel, and, it's all this fake Christian crapola. Okay, so we got that. And what others think of them with this, which is the Lovers in reverse. Now, I think when it comes with minors and children and sex stuff, that really is a bridge too far, except for the really, really die-hard culty Kool-Aid drinkers who will twist this into something else. But I'm going to say, for the foolish people who voted for him because they believed a lot of bullshit, and I think that I think that the Lovers in reverse is the FAFO. I would say that that there are people with children and watching their 12 or 13, 14-year-old daughters, grandchildren go out the door. It's going with this stuff. It's giving them pause. So I would say that this is one thing that could really, it's like the people splitting away, because they may even go for a fairy tale about the floods and it's not his fault. But I tell you, when it comes to kids, and especially thinking of their own, the thinking starts to change and they're not so in love with him anymore. Okay, so the conclusion and the outcome of this whole thing is the Ace of Pentacles. Again, as with all of these things, Epstein was a very wealthy person. There was a lot of money. So I will say that a big follow the money with some very high-end forensic accounting to see people that paid for this sort of thing. Maybe to even see where Epstein put his money, and to see if there is a coincidence, in quotes, with other people of where they put their money, and maybe special accounts they use to, shall I say, buy favors from the minors. All kinds of stuff. There's so many, this is such a vast thing, but when it comes down to it, it could be that the money will tell the tale. The list couldn't. So that could be the list. It could be the secret accounts. It could be a lot of things in the international level. So that is it. So basically what this reading is saying, that maybe not right away, but over time, this is very harmful. This is very harmful. This is, although this is kind of tabloidy and everything, this is something that everybody can relate to. I know that there are people out there in some of the red states who say, I don't really give a shit. They weren't my kids in that, camp. And it wasn't my grandfather, sitting on the roof of his house, so why should I care? There's still people like that because it's the cruelty of this regime that has attracted so many people that really they do enjoy, that's given them permission to enjoy the hell out of their shadow side. But I would think if it comes to someone touching their own inappropriately, it becomes a whole different story altogether. So, I want to look into the suicide thing, because the suicide is important, because it, if he didn't commit suicide and someone killed him, it's obvious for the reasons they didn't want him to talk, or even getting quote unquote careless and allowing that to happen says a lot about, that would solve a lot of problems. So, were guards paid off to go to the bathroom and have a smoke or something like that? Or, what was it? So I want to see what the likelihood is. I know a lot of, and that's a funny thing, because the fact that a lot of people think that he was murdered has been both on the MAGA and on the left. That's the one thing, that if you think it's a conspiracy theory, both sides have engaged in it, and it's probably one of the few things that is the common thing. A lot of people, and there's it's not that crazy to wonder, because there's a lot of stuff that just doesn't add up. So I'm going to do a very short one on that, and because I want to spend a little bit more time with Ghislaine Maxwell. I mean, there's no lower life than a pimp, and that's basically what she was in her designer clothes and that sort of thing. And when they're a pimp for their lover, that's kind of an interesting kind of psycho too. So basically we're getting back to the suicide question. So let's see what the cards say. They may not give the whole answer, but they may say something. Okay, so the general energy around that is the Six of Pentacles. Money. There is money involved in that, and perhaps some people see this as charity, but it could be also see the guy. There's a guy with the hands out, that he could be, and usually he's a disadvantaged one. It could be very well that the money was given out to a guard who, in this day, that maybe was a little bit strapped for funds, because they don't make an awful lot. And it could be that. So that's interesting. So let's see. The general energy around this is, oh, wow, all these pentacles. 8 of Pentacles in reverse. So that would be from people whose money situation isn't that great. Maybe try as they will to put away money, some extra expenses may have come in, so that makes them vulnerable. Okay. So let me see. In the past, oh, the Page of Cups. So, as I have said in all forms, Page of Cups is the titty baby card, the big crybaby. So, and he's with that fish flopping around, he's getting himself ready to or maybe he's letting the bird have the fish. I don't know, that some weird stuff going on with the animals. So we have the Page of Cups. So that's, speaking of, well, I would think that Epstein would have been just like, Taco and the muskrat about, oh, I am such the victim, so, and not seeing any kind of a future of being incarcerated. So I would see where he would definitely be a prime candidate for unaliving himself. And that's the thing, that if somebody killed him and made it look like a suicide, that's believable. That what these cards are telling me is that they could have seen that he was vulnerable. And let's see what the After Tarot has coming. Kind of like as the result of this, we have, running out of space here. Okay, we have, we have the Page of Pentacles. And he's upright this time. He's getting ready to give the coin to that little gnome creature. Maybe paying him off or what to do. Oh, you know what? It hadn't occurred to me that if that it could have, maybe Epstein was saying, "Oh, I'll give you some money to disappear." It hadn't occurred to me. Maybe I'll give you some money to disappear. I don't think he wanted to. I don't think he had anything to live for, because he probably knew, unlike the Florida case, he wasn't going to get out of it this time. And for Taco to pardon him on something like that, it could have opened up a can of worms for Taco that it was too risky. And he was easy to throw under the bus. So that's what Taco does. So it's kind of interesting to say, could he have possibly greased the palm of one of the guards and say, "Why don't you disappear for a little while?" That hadn't occurred to me. I think I want to pull another card and see that. Yep. This does show an alliance that someone that it's possible that someone had made it quite possible to let him do it himself. Although there's still a nagging thing that still makes me wonder if there wasn't somebody else in the scene. It's just something I've gone kind of back and forth on. So I just want to pull another card or two. Let's see, we have the Celebration. So what this indicates to me is that there were a number of people that would greatly benefit from his demise and for him keeping his mouth shut permanently. There's still that, and here we have the Queen of Wands in reverse. which could be leading us into our next reading. I'm going to say this is Maxwell. G. Maxwell. This woman is an entrepreneur and that sort of thing, and upright. And she still has that ability, but she's gone to a very dark place with that in procuring underage girls for him. And just an altogether nasty kind of a person. I'm not saying that she had... I need another card for this. That she was directly involved. Okay, so we have the Hanged Man in reverse. So this is all about things could not go on as they were. They've been hanging around and no new insights have come. I wonder if there was some kind of... but this is interesting. This is getting to be kind of a gothic tale. If there might have been some discussion that those two had in their unholy alliance, that if they ever got caught, that there perhaps could have been a suicide pact, and it wouldn't be the first time in history that someone said, "Oh, okay, he offed himself. I'm not going to be stupid and do that," which makes me wonder if she didn't have a deal cooking that maybe she'd see the light of day before she was 100 or something like that. Said, okay, so the sucker did it, doesn't mean I'm going to do it, but I'm a selfish woman and I'm going to make sure I'm really taken care of. So now that's kind of how she fits into this whole scenario. So this pretty much fits my theory about it being allowed to happen. But the whole thing is that there may have been some money. There may have been some money passed from other people as well that may be unbeknownst to him, even though he did it, that somebody else completely independent did because they didn't want him alive. And he is probably a smart enough guy to know how to really show up, send off big rockets of big signals of suicidal depression. So I don't think the answer is that easy in that respect, but I do believe that it still has to do with there were people that didn't want him alive, which played into it. I'm not entirely eliminating that scenario of someone killing him, but this to me, from what the cards say, maybe makes a little bit more sense. So, at any rate, what about Ghislaine Maxwell? I mean, every now and then her name pops out in the fact that she may be, and who knows, it could be conjecture, theories, that sort of thing. But again, like wondering about someone else, killing Epstein, that it does fall short of the conspiracy theory, because it does make, it's not that wild that it does, because so many people have done that beforehand. So, and she's a woman who pretty much takes care of herself, and so why wouldn't she? If she's been really guaranteed safety, which means it probably is interacting with other prisoners, is really out of the question. So, at any rate, okay. Let's see, I'll do a pretty short reading with her. Okay, so we've got, okay. So let's see where she's at right now. Six of Swords in reverse. She doesn't have a lot of options. She's going to be in choppy waters, and I think what this tells me, she's practical enough to know this may not buy her out of prison before old age, but it might buy her, she'll be in those choppy waters, but it might buy her a little bit of comfort and privileges and protection. So she's not really going into smooth sailing ahead and all that sort of thing, but she's I would call this a hedging of her bets. The energy with that is the Knight of Pentacles, which is about slow, easy, methodical for her to gain her advantage. But this is very carefully thought out. And before this happened, it was like she wasn't about to be left out in the cold. So there she's inside talking, and the dog, and this is so typical. And the dog represents something like, well, he'll take care of himself. Every man for him or herself. And then we have in the After Tarot, we have the Two of Cups in reverse. So what was a very tight alliance that she had with Epstein, and she could still have that if she was mad about him after death, but nope, that pretty much fell apart when she realized that no one was going to come and save her except her. Something tells me she's incredibly, in her own sick way, she's a very practical person. So let's see, in opposition of this, we have a lot of stuff coming at her. The toughness of the prison life. A lot of people that absolutely hate her. There are people that are related to those kids that are out there and just probably have fantasies about what they'd like to do to her. Plus, in fact, in the, if you know anything about the prison pecking order, is that, the honor among thieves kind of thing, that both in men's and I think in women's prisons, because a lot of them are mothers. They may not be the best mothers, but they're mothers. The lowest person in the social order are anybody having to do with a sexual abuse of a minor. And so she needs protection from that as well. So this is definitely a good reason. Everything here is a very good reason for her to be singing, given her safety. She's paying for it with her safety and maybe living a slightly cushier life in prison. So, in the past, we have, six, interesting. We have the Six of Cups. This is living in the past, but this is also, there are kids in this. So this is the whole thing about the grooming of children, to be abused. And they're all getting ready, this kind of a thing, which is telling me that she hasn't changed, and that I'm sure they're going to be bringing this up to her, but she will be telling the tale about how these young ladies were conned and groomed, because it doesn't happen all at once. There is a process. So this may be one thing she's telling. She is telling the feds the details about, preying on these kids. So this is, still a little bit in the past. So she is yeah, obviously she's talking about the past. So in the present right now, the Page of Wands in reverse. So I think in her cunning way, she may be holding back a little bit as she has to get more reassurances. This is the whole thing. So she's giving them a little something to go on, and she's planting the seeds which she plans on to harvest. So she's being very cunning about this, but there's no, what these cards are telling me, there is no remorse. She may be very clever enough to put on an act about this. There's no remorse. It's all preservation. This is all preservation for her. And what she did to preserve her relationship with Epstein will tell you this woman will do anything to survive. So coming up in the near future, we have Pentacles in reverse. So, don't think she has much money to be bribing anybody, but I think what these represent is, see, with this is like saving money, putting money in the bank, and, you know, letting it pile up. But it's in reverse. So, sounds like she may be cashing in some chips. Cashing in some chips to spill the beans. So that's what this is in reverse. In her immediate future. So then, coming up in the more distant future is the ten of Wands, which upright it means like he can't carry them anymore. He's dropped them, and I would say this is maybe her attempt to look. She's going to play the helpless card, like, oh, what do I do now? I don't know what I'm going to do now. But she knows what she's going to do now. Okay, so I would say if she's doing this, she's being now, they may be wise to it, but they know they've got to play her game. So it's a big cat and mouse kind of a thing. But I think in certain respects, she may be playing them to make sure of her safety and that to have the best prison life she can. So in the hopes and the fears, we have well, she had hoped that maybe she could throw up some smoke screens, but it's in reverse. And so the feds are not buying her smoke screens or bullshit. So now she's got to operate in the energy of, I can manipulate them, but I can't con them. When they're upright, someone's being conned by distraction. So she's a little manipulation, but I know I can't con them. So the hope was that maybe she could con them, but then that was her hope. But the fear is that she can't. So now she has to go to something else. So manipulation is a little bit of a weaker energy than conning, I would say. That's my definition. So in conclusion, we have 5 of Cups in reverse. So upright, this is about stewing in the past and not letting it go and grieving it. I would say in kind of a sociopathic way, she's saying, I'm going to let go of the past. The only past I want to know about is what I can tell them that's going to best benefit me. But I'm going to tell them because this way I can move on easier and plan the next phase of my life. So what this is saying is that she is talking, but she is not, it's not coming out like Niagara Falls exactly, but it's, she's just giving them, like, okay, if you want more, I'll give you more, but you got to do this, that, and the other thing. keeping it within reason so she can move on to the next phase of her life, become the model prisoner probably, and maybe look at getting out while she's still, as I say, before she gets to be she's in her 50s now, I think. So I think if she looks like getting out of there by her 60s or 70s or whatever, she's looking at that and making the time go. But I would say this is part of the agreement is it's very secret. And, even with the alliances broken, that it's very secret because it's all about her safety. But I would say she knows what she's doing. So it's a give and take thing with her and the feds as to the control of this. Because she's not completely controlling this, but she is to the best of her ability. So I would say that, and I'll pull another card to say, I would say that what this could possibly happen, and as far as this regime goes, because I think she's the one that could really do a tremendous amount of harm. So let's see, what do we have here? Interesting. Eight of Wands. She knows that going to that with her male colleagues, Epstein and Taco and the rest of them have done, she's not going to play the victim card. She's not going to do that. That is not going to work. So she's probably very disciplined as far as not getting into self-pity and getting into and making yet another prison for herself. And then we have Justice. This tells me she knows the legal system. She knows what she can do and what she cannot do. So, and I think just one more card, and King of Pentacles in reverse. So the big orange elephant in the middle of the room is the King of Pentacles in reverse, which is the corrupt side of Taco. So she may be going into certain things that she knows about him, and which could be plenty. So this is the big conclusion, is that this could, whatever she's telling them, could come back on him. So certain people know where to dig. And once this stuff leaks out, and they may have it leaking out that it doesn't come from her, is that not even this corrupt so-called DOJ, Department of Justice, can do to stop, is that it may take a life of its own, and there will be maybe congressional investigation going on. And if the tide turns in next year's election, that this will be a big thing that they really dig up. So this is tabloid stuff, but tabloid stuff can do people in politically. So we shall see. But this story is maybe not going to go away. So at any rate, I am now. So bye-bye.